Hey guys, welcome back. It's Monday. You're sitting on the Big Game Hunters podcast. Landon Hood, Rory McMillan. We're excited about today's show. We're bringing the heat today. We're talking about, this is more or less on the candidate side, but more on the client side. This has been a general discussion in our office over the last 6 to 8 months. Companies, our clients, truly don't understand the cost of bad hires and really how to avoid them. So we wanted to bring a show to our audience, our community today to really help a lot of our clients and our customers to really avoid the cost of making some, crucial hiring mistakes. We're finding many companies, many hiring managers are putting a lot of pressure on their internal hiring resources. Like, we need to fill this position, we need to hire this position quickly. Yeah. We're behind. We've got targets that we need to hit. Sales isn't performing this quarter, or they've raised money, and that it's demand for hiring people. And what we're finding is a lot of clients are making significant mistakes, right? So we wanted to bring you a show to talk about ways in how we can avoid them, how we can eliminate the risks, and coming up with a solution to make sure that you guys are getting the best people inside your business and making smart hiring decisions.
Yeah, I mean, this is our business, right? We deal every day in hiring, firing, bringing on new talent into organizations. And one of our value propositions to our clients is that certainly we're not going to give you the wrong people, and that the hiring process is so very important, and you don't want to rush it. I mean, oftentimes it can be really easy when you have a very high urgency role that you need to fill. Orders are coming in, things are happening, and you need somebody to take on these responsibilities. It can be easy to lead to a rushed decision, and that can be, a lot of things can go wrong in the interview process. I mean, one of the main things that we see is if the hiring manager, the boss, the person who's in charge of that person doesn't spend enough time with the candidate. Yeah. I mean, I think it's really important.
That's the main thing, right?
Yeah, very important.
Very important. You have a hiring manager that onboards a new employee. HR is pretty much existent. Moved on to the next hire at that point. The hiring manager is now in control, and he's not putting the time and energy.
He can be like a dentist, right? As like the HR team spends all the hygienist stuff. Spends the 45 minutes with you. The doctor, the dentist just walks in. Oh yeah, looks good. Let's find out what you're done. And that's not the way you want to go about hiring somebody, right? You want to make sure that there's a relationship built. Yeah. You understand? We always talk about you want to be able to not only work with the person, but spend time with the person. You don't want to be avoiding your boss. From a candidate's perspective, that's important too. Is if you are scared or whatever, you don't like the person, they seem weird. Like that's an issue. You're probably not going to last that long if you really don't like and don't want to be around your boss. So from both perspectives, it's important that
it can really cause major disruption too as well inside an organization, right? I think that's one aspect of it. Second aspect is hiring managers and decision makers inside companies. They've just got so much going on. They're so busy, and that new hire really wants to absorb as much time and attention from their boss. Yeah. And they're almost like you said, like the dentist. They're in and they're out. It's like, what, we've hired you to do this. Now come in and do it. But I think the key thing is when you're dealing with people and you're dealing with new hires, they have to be onboarded properly. They have to be coached. They have to be trained. They have to be developed. You have to set expectations with them. You have to produce, and that new employee has to see that person produce no matter what you're doing. Obviously, you can tell them, listen, I'm not going to be able to spend every single minute of the day with you because I've got my own job, my own responsibilities to do. But there has to be an agenda. Maybe you have a breakdown in the morning with the person and a breakdown in the evening. It doesn't have to be every day, maybe once a week or every other day, just so you know what's going on and you can feel like, that they're learning from you, you're learning from them, and, the business is moving forward in the direction it should be. Because the first thing that's going to happen if you hire someone and there's no communication and there's a major disconnect, that guy or girl is gone, right? Yeah. They're going to be starting looking at a new opportunity. I don't know what I signed up for. This wasn't what it was like in the hiring process. So number one thing, retaining the people, is you got to be communicating with your team. You got to be communicating with the new hires, and you got to make them feel a part, as if they're part of your team, as if they're part of your family. No matter what's going on, you have to make time for those people.
Oh no, absolutely. Expectations need to be set. You need to be putting in the time and making sure that they're on pace. And it's not just checking off boxes for a candidate. It's not just saying, hey, we need somebody with X years of experience. They have the degree. They have the experience with this specific software. It's also looking at how your workplace operates and understanding how your workplace operates, and that comes from an HR perspective. That comes from hiring managers understanding their employees. So you have to look at three key things. One being the cultural fit. Does this person share the values of the organization? And I mean, it's a buzzword, and people always talk about what are the values, but really, I mean, day to day, how do they see success in their eyes? Personal success, success, professional success? How do they see it? And every day, you know, what are they going to be doing to work towards that? You know, their personality fit. I mean, is this person loud and engaging and you really like them, you want to hire them? That's awesome. That's great. But is your office really quiet? Does everybody mostly, be honest with yourself? Is your office kind of quiet? Does everybody have their headphones in? Will that person come in? And as a candidate, you have to know this too. You know, will you come in and will you get bored? Like certain people need to be engaged.
They do.
You can't just give all the energy out. You need some back.
That's right.
And so that can lead to...
I need it. Exactly. Don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
I find like, oh my God.
So if you are constantly the provider of the energy, because certain, you know, people fall into two categories. Some people provide the energy. Some people kind of take it in.
Yeah, introverts, extroverts, exactly. The people that are go-getters and the people that just there to collect a paycheck.
An introverted office might love to have an extrovert in there, but the extrovert might get a little bit worn out being the only extrovert.
Uncomfort.
And so that's a big thing is personality fits. You know, will they fit in with the team? And then expectations, of course, being aligned in terms of what are they going to be doing every day? You know, how is success viewed and how is it achieved?
Yeah. So when you bring on people, make sure that they're trained, they're coached, they're developed, you're spending time with them. Sometimes you just never know, right? Sometimes when you know, the risk for a business owner or risk for a department, whenever you hire someone, you never know how that person's really going to do until they're getting in there, until they're getting stuck into the job, until they're getting stuck into the task at hand. But the major financial cost, which we want to talk about too as well, to organizations, statistics say the average cost of a bad hire is 30% of employees' first year earnings. That's huge.
Yeah.
No, what are your thoughts on that?
No, you bring on somebody $100,000 salary, you're throwing away $30,000. If
they don't work out.
You know, then that just makes sense, right? Because, you know, once you hire somebody, once the paperwork is in, you know, it's kind of you want to, and you give somebody a chance. You don't want to, you know, after a month be like, you know what, this doesn't seem like the right fit. You're out. It's tough.
Unless you know.
Unless you really know. And and maybe that's the right way to go about it, honestly, because you know, the 3-month probationary period, which is quite common, happens. Then you have your little review and you decide. But after 3 months, you know, that's a quarter of a year. That's a lot of time that you've invested, and then you have to go through the hiring process again. And so there's that side of the things, and there's also, I mean, what type of a bad hire was it? Was it such a bad hire that they were wasting resources? Were they costing you money while they're there in terms of not just not delivering results, but spending money in the wrong way?
We've seen that.
Yeah,
we've seen that.
You know, talking to clients in a negative way, you know, hurting your brand. Like this can happen if you bring on the wrong person. And so you want to make sure it
can easily cover the salary, and some employers just don't know that. Like we want to help our clients, help our employers, help the people that want to work with us. Like do not hire bad people, because it is the worst thing that can happen to your business. They can upset clients, they can come in late, they could cost your business a significant amount of money. They could maybe get someone else upset that's a really valued part of your company and then make them move on. And you'll be like, whoa, what, you know, I need that guy, I need that person, you know, we can't survive without him, right? So the key thing is really focusing on, you know, making sure that you're doing your due diligence, you've done your research, you're making sure that the cultural fit's there, the qualifications there, because you don't want to be, you know, potentially costing 30% of the candidate's salary for making a bad hire. They also say statistics, 10% of sales opportunities are lost too as well. If you're, obviously this is more relevant to sales, if you're bringing in revenue versus looking to save the company money, you bring on the wrong hire, you know, what's going to happen? The sales aren't going to come in anymore, you know, which means your company isn't going to turn a profit.
Yeah. And so, I mean, ways you want to avoid bringing on a bad hire. I mean, certainly there's different things that people are going through these days in terms of the hiring process. You know, we touched on the fact that you want to make sure that the person who that candidate reports to spends a decent amount of time with them. You know, they don't just come in, come out. Another thing that we're seeing these days, and which is, I mean, they're getting pretty high level at this point, is personality tests. Some of the personality tests that we're seeing can really put somebody in a profile that, you know, can sometimes be scarily accurate. And HR is really figuring out a way to understand, you know, what they need in terms of not only the qualifications, but the cultural, the personal profile that they need. And so that's something that, you know, more and more of our clients are seeing, you know, as a very integral process. You know,
and more companies are using, I think, those processes like the caliper testing, you know, the Covey training, you know, all this personality testing to really determine if this person's who he says he is.
Exactly.
Or not so much who he says he is, but is this person the right personality fit for that role? And we're strong believers in that. We think if you're a hiring manager, you should be testing your people. You should be testing them, qualifying them before you hire them, and you should be putting them on the spot to make sure that they're as good as they say they are. Because, you know, it's a competitive job market out there. It's a war of talent out there, and as you can see, the financial implications can be huge, right? 30% drop in productivity, 40% of lost time. You've trained all of this person. The person training this person costs typically more money than the person that you've hired. You wasted all of his time. You know, lost. It's just it's just can be damaging, severely damaging. So it's crucial that you, the hiring manager or the company, if you're looking to hire, you're looking to blow up, you're looking to bring in more resources, you got to do your due diligence. I've made the mistakes myself. I've been there. I can admit it. You know, I've rushed to make hiring decisions, and has it cost my company financially? Yes, absolutely. I think it costs any company financially. It can damage relationships, and it's ultimately just a virus inside a company. It's a cultural damage. You bring someone in, if you bring the wrong person in, it can really destroy your company from a cultural perspective, from a personality fit, and many other ways.
And
right?
we better than anybody understand that sometimes you need somebody soon, and you need to come to a decision quickly, and that can happen, absolutely. And we're not saying, you know, spend weeks and weeks, you know, going out for lunch and going to coffee and taking them to the movies. You don't have to wine and dine them. You know, we understand sometimes it's a fast process, so it's important to really understand your criteria for, you know, not only the qualifications that they need, but the cultural fit and the personality fit, and being able to hammer it through. And, you know, as much vetting as possible in that short time period can be great. Of course, you know, candidate reference checks is something we run. We vet our candidates before we submit them to clients. You know, clients should go through at least a couple rounds of interviews before they hire.
Yep.
And so that, you know, that process, it can be expedited, but it's important to go through those steps.
Yeah. So if you want to hire someone, we want you to do your due diligence. We want you to do your research. We don't want you guys to make poor hiring decisions. You know, if you're hiring someone from their strengths, leverage their strengths. Communicate with your people. You know, as your company grows, there's less communication between one person and the next person. It's your responsibility, the hiring manager, the owner, the person bringing this person on board, to spend time with these people. It's only going to do your business really good. We want to hear from our community. We want to hear from our audience. We also want to hear from our clients watching this podcast today. Comment in the section below, #AskMagnaOnAir, or in the discuss section below, and say, hey, you know, we want to hear your thoughts, what your recommendations are, what mistakes you have made. We want to hear from you. We want to have another podcast on this. We feel it's a valuable topic, and I'm excited.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. It's Monday. You're sitting on the Big Game Hunters podcast. #MagnaOnAir. Check us out on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio, YouTube, Vimeo. We're blowing up. We're going everywhere. This is the fourth podcast of 2016. We're excited. We got bigger and better things coming. We got a new website in the works, which we're excited about. And we'll see you next week.
Later days.